Hey guys, for the extra Sunday content, as well as bonus weekly content on top of that, go to our Patreon link in the description and find the Black Kluge tier or higher and subscribe.
Oh, he doesn't?
Dude, Howard, I've always wanted to know one thing. Did you or did you not get Robin Givens?
I don't know. All right, here, look, come here. No, I'm saying I would never.
What do you mean you don't know?
No, I didn't.
I don't know.
No, I did not. No.
You'd have to know.
Right.
But if someone wants to fix themselves,
different thing.
I am telling you that it is possible. There is no such thing as genetic homosexuality. It's fixable. I know the guy who can fix it. He doesn't even know he can fix it.
So he hasn't said this is a cure for this problem.
No. But I am telling you, homosexuality is fixable. Hello.
Do you have a big dick? Did you go into therapy? You've never been to a psychiatrist? It does. I like that. I like to hear that guys are whacking off.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a wig and a purse. I do that in my personal life.
No.
I'm just like a happy-go-lucky guy.
And all this is about having fun.
That's right.
Kat, what do you do for a living? And it's not one of those, who are you? But what do you do for a living?
Really not.
You do therapy?
Just no.
Never?
I've dabbled.
I'm there every day. My daughter's 15. All her friends are like consumed with who's gay and who isn't. Yeah, that's like a big thing.
That's the new thing.
Yeah, right. They think I'm gay. Everyone's gay.
Richard, what?
They come over, Twee. They named me Twee. First of all, fuck you. My name is Howard.
Why can't you just be Howard? Why do you have to have a separate
They had to give you a Hebrew name.
How before they work weeks?
Nah. The audience gets mad at me if I take a week off. I can't take Fridays off.
I think the audience would rather have you do 4 days than no days.
Yeah, if you're not there at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's better not to be there. I believe radio is a habitual kind of medium. That people wake up in the morning, they go to work, and they want to hear their favorite disc jockey.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're not there on Fridays, you are doing a disservice to the audience, and you're not doing your job. I don't think I'm interested in the 5-day-a-week sketch.
Oh. It came with that?
Yeah. Well, terrestrial radio, you got to do a 5-day-a-week sketch. Satellite's different.
Because I drive into Manhattan every day and I listen to you, okay? And if you cut out the bitching, it probably would be about an hour of broadcast.
You're right. And you want to know something? Okay. So
now, how long are you going to keep the hair?
I'm going to keep the hair as long as it keeps on top of my head. What do you mean?
There's a point in time that it's...
Is my hair too long, you think?
When you get a certain age, I think that the
You
hair...
think it looks silly?
Yeah.
You do?
Really?
I do.
So this is Riley Martin?
Yes.
Okay. Friend of the aliens.
Yes,
right.
Why are you people bugging my time with 4 hours of faggotism? I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Can't you come up with another solution?
Welcome to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern, everybody. I'm your host, Fillmore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. And this sunny morning in Baltimore, the clouds are parting. No, I tried doing my radio voice is just a little bit annoying to me this morning.
Hello, everybody.
Exactly. Welcome to my co-host with the most, Sam. And we both had a bit of a nutty week, but we're happy to do this one for you. It happens to be a video from around the time of Robin's book release, and so the entire crew are piling in on her because they don't believe anything in it.
Listen, it's sunny in Buffalo, and now my day has just gotten so much better.
It's sunnier now.
Man.
Yeah. So
it'd be like a Teletubbies episode.
Exactly. So anytime we can get video, we try to opt for it, guys, and we did have this one. So here we're gonna start with this.
It always amazes me. There are little things about everyone on the show that amazes me.
Yeah.
Fred is the most amazing of all because in the week that we were gone, Fred forgot that we worked together. So he has built a wall of cars. I can now not see you at all.
Oh, Fred, are you upset by that observation?
I missed you, Robin.
See how when Robin says something so assertive, like so cutting. Oh, hey, Fillmore, I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know if you noticed on Skype, I've piled a bookshelf around myself so you can't see my face. Fuck you.
Did you ever see the movie Major League?
No.
Okay, there's I don't know, a character that Tom Berenger, I think his ex-wife's boyfriend or something.
Charlie Sheen's in that, right?
Yeah, it is. It's one of my favorite like sports movies of all time, and so he's making like chit chat with his ex-wife's boyfriend or something, and he hates the guy. And as he's leaving, the guy goes, "Hey, is it good to see you?" And he goes, "Suck my dick."
Right.
Like that's
essentially
right. Yeah, let's couch it in bonhomie and good naturedness. But Robin, because we covered her recently on Jesus H. Christ, what did we just? Oh, Kayla and I covered her arguing with Howard over the pictures they put in each other's books, and that laugh that just cuts right the fuck through you, and and how the high pitch, it doesn't bother me when she does that. It's totally a tell that it completely bothers her.
Well, she's starting off by saying something that's so the actions and emotions and body language does not match what she's saying. So you're like, wait, what? You just said what? Because it doesn't match. You expect somebody who's saying something like that to be hair flipping, standing up and like, hey.
Are you guys having a good time? Oh, yes, everything's wonderful. Enjoy your meal, cunts. Is that kind of the gist?
Yeah, that's right on.
Yeah, if you need anything, just go fuck yourself. So.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Fuck you.
I think actually that's a restaurant that could do some serious business for the right clientele who just want to have a good laugh. The entire wait staff swear at you when you ask for something. What do you think? This is a fucking hotel? Wrap it up. And no doggy bag.
Scoop it up in your own fucking box.
By the way, we spit in it. We spit in the soup.
Because there was a moment there.
Another perceived slight.
Did you finish?
I could tell that Howard was trying to see me for a moment, and you were just looking at all those cards.
Fred, did you finish Robin's book yet?
Oh, yeah.
All I know is everybody calls my house after they finish Robin's book. It starts in with me. I go, listen, I didn't.
With you?
Oh, please. Well, no one wants to discuss it with you, but they really feel. No, after everyone reads your book. When is that book coming out already?
April 7th.
Can we talk?
Okay, the release date on Amazon said April 1st. That could be wrong, but maybe general release was April 7th. At any rate, go ahead. So this puts it at like March. This must be like the first week of April or end of March, guys, at 1995.
Now, if you were proud of something, you wouldn't be adjusting like you're giving an excuse for why you forgot your homework. Like, watch her adjust her shirt, kind of toggle with her hair, place her shirt, adjust her necklace. Like, she is uncomfortable with even saying the release date.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange to me. If somebody's so confident in their product, why their body language says the opposite?
Maybe because, and I'll defend her for a moment just to say perhaps because she knows what the crew is like. I'd like to say that, except for the fact that we know we believe, and if anybody reads it, it reads like bullshit. Most of the book is nonsense, and she knows they're going to jump all over it.
Now, let's put ourselves in this situation, okay? We've been working with these people for so long. None of these things that are stated in the book have ever come out, really, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then she just throws this book out after his book and just throws it out there. And what are they supposed to think?
Yeah.
And then instead of calling them out on something, or instead of addressing them personally, like if this were your book, picture in today's time, everybody's a narcissist, basically. Like, I have a story, I have a journey, I have to tell you about everything about myself, and everybody needs to know. Okay. But that wasn't like that back then. So say if Robin was writing this kind of book, wouldn't you give your coworkers a heads up on what's in there? And even if you didn't, when it was about to be put out, wouldn't you say something, or say, if I'm giving you this and you read it, you are free to talk to me about it? Instead, look at this.
But not only that, let's forget all that. Let's just say she didn't tell them, and they read this about her molestation. Okay, her supposed molestation. Wouldn't you be less than jocular on the air? Wouldn't you be a little more somber about it? Say, holy shit, I didn't know any of that stuff. If you believed it. If you believed it.
Okay, so you're saying from their standpoint, I agree with you. But
Yeah,
again,
like-
but that's why Fred probably has the carts up, because he doesn't know what to think about this, because her response is so bizarre.
Mhm.
So their response is bizarre. The whole thing is weird.
Now, and so the really, in this case, guys, there's Jackie. There's also Billy. You might have just seen him in the video, but he's in the back, of course. He looks almost like a Muppet, like a puppet waiting to be used. But it really is between Howard, Robin, and Fred. They're the three, although Howard and Fred knew each other first. The three of them should know the most about each other, as opposed to everybody else in there who came later. So it really is up to Howard, and of course Allison as well, who may or may not make a call in. I don't know if she will for this, but they know, like, if they know almost everything about Robin, and Howard and Allison had to help Robin out so much, the odds of them not knowing some of this stuff is nil.
And let's cover the following of what was said. I was molested by my father. I ripped off the Air Force. I wanted to be a prostitute for a minute and threw my breasts open in public.
Mm-hmm.
I got fucked in the ass in public.
Claimed she felt like it. That was about it. She didn't actually do it. She stripped for a porn producer who took nude Polaroids.
Right. But I got fucked in the ass. I what was it? Felt like angry about my skin color at one point, so I went full on Black Panthers, but then rescinded and ended up working for Howard. I mean, there's so much in here that I would have the carts up too until you address me personally about all these grievances in your life. I'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, who have we been working with? What is this work of fiction here? And I think that's the most disturbing thing for them, knowing that this thing is like a choose your own adventure piece of shit, and they have to treat this as though it's real. And they know she's nuts because they've dealt with her for enough years to know what she's like when she goes off the rails. So that's where, if they're reticent or if they're whatever, I think it's pure fear. Like, I don't want to hear that fucking rage at me.
Right. And I think it's double because she's also uncomfortable. So yeah.
Just an amazing, you'll never see something like this again. I don't think you'll ever see this kind of social experiment again.
No, the closest we got was the Simona Ditterstein thing, which was like, what?
Yeah. That was great. That was almost, I'd like to apologize to my wife, Nancy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about it now, or do we have to wait? Because none of us can wait. We're trying to help you sell books, but we're also busting at the seams.
Yeah. Did you read it yet, Jackie?
No, I got my
Jackie reads it.
I got my copy, and I just have opened up to different places, and I opened about 5 different places, and each place the paragraph starts out, "Robin, you're losing it again." And Howard came to me and said, "Robin, you're losing it again." I turned over about 100 more pages. "Robin, you're losing it again."
I've gotten calls from, well, I'm not going to say who because they were in private, Robin, but
you can mention names. I don't.
Everyone thinks you're insane.
I am.
There's something wrong with
That's
you.
what that book is about.
I don't even now. I think you're insane.
Had I read this book, I could have helped you with the title. I am insane.
Yeah. Nobody believes it. And believe me, half the stuff in there I don't even believe.
Yeah. See. Okay.
Nobody.
Now, we could at that time I might have thought, okay, everybody's whatever, how old would I have been? About 20 years old. Reading it, I would have known that this book was full of shit, because even then we were taught to think analytically about books, for fuck's sake. You read this and you go, no way, bullshit.
Honestly, though, it makes me mad that they're willing to do this for Robin. And be open about it, but they weren't willing to do this for Howard. And if you even look at a Reddit page of his old house, and you're telling me you grew up in some slum in a black neighborhood and were beat up every day, and it was a constant...
Right, it was New Jack City.
tussle. Like, get out of here. So
Exactly.
it makes me mad of the discrepancy between them pushing her, which they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying it makes me a little bit irritated that they didn't do this for him.
Yeah, they should have taken apart his OCD bullshit, and they never did. There's no video of that.
None. And it was just accepted. I mean, there was some pushback, but not like this, not like a video.
No way. And they also, I mean, it should have been a goof, like how many pictures were in his book. It was like a fucking coloring book, more than anything. And then just the I mean, the fact that they had to do the trans shoot for dressing up as in drag for that fucking book. She didn't ask for any of that. She just wrote a book, put whatever pictures in, asked them if they like this, whatever, this, that, and the other thing, and probably gave them free copies. Unlike Howard,
right.
I'm sure it made sure they paid for them.
And at the time, it wasn't trans. It was definitely just drag, just straight up drag.
That's what I mean. I mean, they were made up by trannies, but at the time, but.
Well, you said that you had read like 2/3 of it, and you said, I got 20 things here that I don't believe you did. I think you made them up.
Yeah, even and I told Gary yesterday half of that stuff made up.
I called Howard and I said, wow, Howard, some of this stuff is amazing. And
he starts telling me how bad it is, and I go to him, what do you think's so bad? So he starts to read off, and I go, that's not true. He goes, you're kidding. I go, anybody that she writes about, when you go back to confirm the story with them, they don't know what she's talking about.
I was thinking that after I read about.
She's crazy.
I read about 100 pages.
Really crazy.
Yeah, really.
Do you think her parents, if they were in sound mind, or I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Aware that they could sue for libel, that they could sue for slander, because there's no way that stuff is true, and you can tell it's not. They can tell it's not. I wonder why her family, God bless them, didn't sue her.
Well, how isn't it a they said, she said kind of thing, because you'll never be able to prove the molestation. Like, one way or the other, you won't be able to prove it. You could, you could prove, libel in terms of, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I'm getting my terms wrong. Libel in terms of, what do you call it? Disparagement of.
Well, like, think of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Right,
you can't say this stuff about me. Okay, you want to say this stuff about me? Then you're going to have to prove it. And she failed to prove it. So she had a big fee, millions of dollars fee tacked on her for not being able to prove it. I wonder if her family was that pissed off. Could they have sued her and said, you need to prove this is defamation of character?
Oh, I'm certainly they could have sued. But the problem is, of course, they're financially dependent on her all of a sudden. She's become this big hoity-toity Miss Bitch Queen Ophelia, and she's providing them with stuff that if they were these monsters, I would have hired a hit team out to fucking rub them out, not buy them a house, much less bring them into the studio and introduce them to my fucking coworkers who've been making molestation jokes for the last 3 years. So, and that was one of the early Patreon episodes, guys. We, with Deborah, we covered the appearance where they came in studio, and I was never, that might be my top 3 most cringeworthy feelings of listening to any Howard Stern audio. Cringier than any of the intern beauty pageants, cringier than, the Billy West, John Kay thing, more cringeworthy than Artie's addiction, like when they had him on, when they were asleep and they were mocking him and, making fun of his fucking phone calls where he was clearly fucked up. That was top 3 easily.
Agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're financially dependent on her, but then also are they maybe not savvy enough to know that this is a thing. They're older people. What reputation? We're both retirees. Who knows? I'm sure she literally said to them, look, I wrote a bunch of bullshit in the book and I'm going to pay you. I'll pay whatever you want, but you don't say anything. You just let me go on with this. But they were quoted in newspapers saying, she embellished a lot of that stuff, or we don't believe this. So they didn't even go with her on it.
Yeah, like, this is going to be, you're going to go to a state nursing home, or you're going to be comfortable. Let me do my book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I read about 100 pages yesterday, and I had to call you to say, Howard, man, you really are a cool guy, because look at all the stuff that you went through. And you go, I didn't go through anything. I don't even know what happened.
I know. But I told Robin that. Half the stuff she was going to put in the book, I had to fight with her about.
I was talking to some of my own friends who have just read it, and they said, you know what, we would like to call Howard and thank him and give him our sympathy.
Yeah, well, Gary says to me, gee, on every page, Robin's yelling at you. I go, I don't really remember her yelling all that much.
Real or imagined? You know?
Well, she was yelling mostly at everybody else behind the scenes, first of all. And when the biggest, if in the books, the big takeaway, one of the big confrontations is she gives him the silent treatment off the air for months, and then he lets it go because he's non-confrontational, and then eventually they talk it out.
Well,
and we believe that because she did that to Jackie.
Yes, she did do that to Jackie, but a lot of the yelling, I'm assuming that they're brushing under the table or not bringing to the forefront is the staff that's unpaid, the interns, the limo drivers, the people that, she deals with on a daily basis at the show that aren't on camera, that aren't in the forefront of this. So I kind of seem to think that a lot of this craziness went on. Probably they know, but happened with people that are behind the scenes.
Yeah, or they're choosing to forget some of it, in retrospect, because it's just a horrible memory.
Shit too.
Yeah, that too. You don't want to uncover their crap.
Robin claims that she's not sure of anything that happened. But this is her reality.
Now, that's not true.
That's how you explained it to me.
I had to calm you down.
I called up Robin. I said, let me ask you something. How come I don't know half of this stuff? She goes, well, it doesn't mean that any of this happened. It's just my own psychosis.
It was a dream.
It's my impression of
it.
So that's what someone says when they've written a complete pile of shit.
Well, this is what happens when somebody says, I feel something versus this is what happened.
This happened.
You can feel however you want to feel. That doesn't make it reality.
Yeah. Is this that season of Dallas where it was all a dream?
Honestly.
You went through all this.
Is this the end of Bob Newhart?
Yeah. Roseanne's
really? Keeping it current.
Yeah.
For all those millennials out there. Sorry.
So here we go.
Fuck me.
At least you didn't bring up, like, I don't know, what was it, the Beverly Hillbillies or something.
I'm like the oldest 35-year-old ever.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Sam rock along to episodes of reruns of Hee Haw.
For not noticing anything was wrong or something like that, and I just always assumed she was crazy from the beginning.
You didn't notice anything's wrong. You're the guy in here every day telling me something's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where, she's absolutely bizarre.
Because Robin says at one point in the book, she goes, I sometimes used to get paranoid behind the glass because I think everyone was talking about me. He was talking about you.
See, Jackie was true.
Jackie was talking
paranoid.
about you.
It was actually happening.
Jackie was saying bad things about you.
I'll tell you what, the truth or lies that put everything in perspective.
Is that right?
Yeah, it made me understand a lot.
I'm glad.
Well, explain it to me.
I was crazy. There's no explanation. There's a lot of things. I was telling Howard, there's a lot of things in there. Like, you explain a lot of things that you did that were irrational and explain why. And then there's a lot of stuff in there that's irrational that has no explanation. It's just like irrational thoughts, dangling, and you don't even explain them away.
But that was what.
Okay, one sec. This is the thing that Gary's not intelligent enough also to really suss out that, how much of the book is bullshit, but he is astute enough to point out that there are points in the book that suddenly go in a direction where nothing's resolved. Like, one of the things coming up is she's gonna talk about how she was drunk, she was hungover, and then got this recruiter for the Air Force enlisted her, and because she couldn't keep telling her to go away, she decided, okay, I'll sign up for the Air Force. Like, that happens. That means Robin's a telemarketer's wet fucking dream. Ma'am, we were selling some double-sided dildos. I'll have 6.
I have to say, though, with that explanation, even though that's crazy, there is a part of me that thinks a lot of lower income minorities signed up for the military because they pay for your education then. So so in the United States, that's what happens. So a lot of minorities do this because it brings them out of poverty and it gives them an education that they're not in student debt. So I understand why somebody would do that. And if she said that, that would be the rational choice.
Right.
And that would make sense to me. But the way she described it, it's so flaky. It might as well be some bit in the movie Clueless.
But
like if Dion woke up from a party and said, "Hey, Cher, I just signed up for the Air Force."
But this is also the stupidest thing, because I think Benjamin pointed it out when we did the Quivers Alive breakdown. She has no accountability any more than Howard does about anything. He wouldn't clean up his records because he had OCD, so Fred had to do it. It would have taken him 10 hours to put away 3 records. Yeah, right. Not just being a lazy piece of shit, which is what he's been his entire life. With her, it's, it can't be me going, I called the recruiter back and I said, yeah, sign me up. It has to be, I was at my weakest. I didn't know what I was doing. I was hungover. It's like, I didn't sexually assault you. I was fucked up. I don't know what I was doing. So blame it on the booze. Blame it on this, but don't blame me.
Well, that makes sense, because how did the whole thing end up? It ended up her having to owe back money to the Air Force
because they overpaid her, and then she stayed an extra 6 months to offset that thing.
Right. So maybe the whole reason for her joining would have sounded different in her book if it didn't end terribly.
Yeah. And she, by the way,
right?
guys, and if you recall, agree. If you watch the so the Sally Jesse appearance we did covered, Sally Jesse Raphael, she says they forced her to stay longer.
Right.
That's key. So she, in the year of her book's release, is bullshitting about the contents of her own book on national TV in front of a live audience. Yeah, unbelievable.
What's going on?
No, that's
you see, that's what she says. Whenever she explains stuff, she goes, "That's what was going on." There was one point in the book where Robin says, Robin goes, I was very upset.
You're very funny, Howard.
I told you not to write this book. She goes, I was very upset. So I went to the store and I ordered ice cream.
How many?
And I was, wait a second. She goes, and I was so upset.
No, she said, I didn't want,
let me get this straight. She goes, I was very upset. And I didn't want, in my own psychosis, I didn't want anyone to think that I was eating alone. So I would order 2 ice creams. So people would, and then she wouldn't say anything after that.
Right, like you don't explain that. This irrational thought is you didn't want anyone to know you were single, so you ordered for 2. Right. But did that mean
the
you wanted?
The point is, that's how wacky you get. You imagine that everybody's thinking things about you.
But you should have said,
you don't get wacky. We don't get wacky. You are trying to excuse the fact that you just wanted to eat more fucking ice cream than the average person.
I don't think that even happened in her head. I think she just ordered what she ordered and then needed something for a book.
The ice cream thing is the least of it. That's the funny part. Like they're focusing on that, but there's way wackier stuff and way more out there, just nonsense.
But that is nonsense. And it's like, okay, let's dial back for a second to say, okay, I don't want people thinking I'm single, so I'm ordering all this. Then don't order all this food. Or why would they think you're single regardless? Especially since like a Chinese place has, or an ice cream place. Why would they care? That doesn't make any sense to me. And she says, oh, because of my psychosis. I don't buy that for a second. I just think that she wanted all this food and then thought, I don't have enough to write about, so I'm going to make up some fucking fake mental problem.
My favorite, and she kind of admits it later on that, like really it was just her wanting to eat all this shit because she said, I would go to different stores so they wouldn't all see how much I was eating.
Right. So this is not about her being single. It's about her
being
eating
embarrassed
problem.
Yeah, and being a fat pig and wanting to try to hide the fact that you're eating as much as you are. So, and I'm not trying to. It's not fat shaming, guys. It's just pointing out the stupidity in some of these passages of the book. Thank God I threw it out, and I can get access to the screen caps and stuff. But my God, I think my computer will blow up.
They're not even looking at what you're buying.
It should have said, I was so wacky.
But that's the whole book. You can't keep repeating that.
She keeps saying I'm so wacky before
top of each page. just say, I was so wacky, ...
Like the Larry King column.
My personal thing in the book that I wanted to bring up, that you, over the years, 11 years, how many times have you told me I'm stupid? How many thousands of times?
I haven't ever told you that.
A couple thousand times, right?
Right.
Now that I don't remember.
You can never, ever, ever again tell me that I'm stupid because you joined the Army or the Air Force or whatever because somebody called you at home while you had a hangover and you couldn't hang up on them.
I know. I don't understand. See, that's what I said to Gary. I said, Gary, that isn't true.
He said, Gary, that isn't true. I agree with Howard. I don't believe that for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't. I just think that if the Air Force thing ended honorably, we'd have a different anecdote about it.
Oh yeah, 100%. About 100%.
Absolutely.
It is not. I said, there's no way. There's no way. You weren't being honest. There's no way somebody joins the Army.
Is she creating myth here?
Yes, because I think there is no. Let me explain something to you. There's no way somebody joins the Army.
Nobody.
It was the Air Force.
Whatever. Nobody.
Maybe they don't join the Army that way. But the Air Force.
Air Force even more. Nobody joins the Air Force after like, oh gee, this person keeps calling me and bugging me. I know how I'll get them to stop bugging me.
No, it was the.
I'll join up.
First of all, I wasn't the person I am today, and I couldn't hang up on a person. And I was like you. I didn't like to hurt people's feelings.
Look at her body language here.
Yep.
She's got clenched fists where she's rubbing her own hands together.
Mm-hmm.
She's laughing. This is not somebody who's serious about defending the point that she's trying to make. This is somebody
she just wants the
that
attention.
is being called out and figuring out how to slide around it.
Yep. And she's embarrassed. She doesn't want to show it, but she's embarrassed that she's being found out as a fraud.
Well, she's embarrassed because you can tell by the over laughter.
Over laughter, the smiles, the sort of painful smiles in between yucks.
If somebody confronted me about why I joined the military, I wouldn't be yucking it up. Especially if that anecdote were true.
Well, that's it. And the other thing is, guys, what I love about that whole thing was she decided she was going to they overpaid her basically in the military. There was just a clerical error where they overpaid her month to month to month. She didn't notice. And she goes, I figured that I was just such a good money manager that I was owed this. She didn't question why she was getting X amount more. No, she didn't question why she was getting X amount more than her, the people that were of the same rank. But then she also claimed I never saluted ranking officers. I didn't do my beds. I did whatever I wanted to, like this rebel. And we got in touch with people from the military. They said there's no fucking way that would happen. It said in the Army it was more serious, but in the Air Force maybe you could get away with some of that. But most of the time, no way. There's no military service works like that where you cannot. If you don't salute an officer, you're fucked. They will pile on punishment after punishment for you.
And this also calls into question her whole narrative about right before then, she was this Black Panther like, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, and like very anti-establishment. So
that's right.
So what do you do when you're anti-establishment? Oh, yeah, you join the military.
Join the Army, yeah. Be a total conformist.
That makes total sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tony.
I could go, but the answer is,
I'd like to meet the person.
I could hang up and go back to sleep or join the Air Force for 2 years.
Well, join the Air Force. Let me tell you something. There's a lot. I think there's a sequel required.
This is my favorite part of the book.
An explanation, clip notes to explain everything in the book.
Now you can't make fun of Gary anymore. What fun are you
I can make fun of Gary.
He's gonna be pulling stuff out of the book.
Oh yeah.
He now has ammunition.
He sure does.
On the other hand, I always thought that it was amazing. I didn't know how Robin actually started her career, and Robin went from being a nurse to being in a top 10 market in radio in less than 6 months. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, I knew that.
I didn't know that.
How do you know it's true, though?
Well, I read it. It was on paper. I read it.
That's good on Gary, at least. It's in a book, so it must be true.
I mean, at least he read it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he claims he did. And comprehension and reading are not the same thing, guys. So we don't know what Mama Monkey can make of Quivers of Life anyway. And again, it's not the same as Fred reading it because he doesn't know Robin nearly as long.
I mean, the analytical skills are not going to be as intense as you or I.
No, it's still you still be looking through the Roget's thesaurus for some of the words.
All along.
Who knows if any of that's true?
But she said it was.
She goes to a strip club. Next thing you know, she's a stripper.
Stop it.
She was 5 seconds away from
now
being
you're doing things.
She's 5 seconds away from being naked on stage.
She's 5 seconds away from being a prostitute, remember?
Right, yeah.
So I was trying to turn her...
Some guy tried to become her pimp.
2 seconds away from being a porn
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that book.
She's Latoya.
I don't know what.
Even that, like saying, that actually is a statement in the book. She was 2 seconds away from becoming a prostitute, according to her.
Yeah.
It's so, and it flies by faster than an epilogue. Like, it's just insane.
It's not even the time it takes to exhale. When there's one segment where she goes, I was this close to being a drug dealer. Like she was going to deal weed. That was going to, and then it's dealt with in, I would say, 3 lines of a paragraph. And she's like, oh, I realized that would, put what kind of stretch I'd be looking for in terms of hard time. And I said, nope, that wasn't for me. And then in another situation, she goes, oh, I was going to be like drinking. Well, I thought maybe I'll be an alcoholic, whatever. And then I had one night of drinking. So, well, that's not for me. Then I went to the church and I go, yeah, I don't want to be having to do this all the time. So I decided church wasn't for me. She tried on every uniform.
It's as fast, the prostitution thing goes as fast as a neck break of Mice and Men in his pocket. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just really something else.
Oh, I go around just saying none of it's true. That's complete fiction.
It's the easiest. Disavow.
Yeah. I just go, as far as I know, none of it's true. She was crazy and made it all up.
Freddie and I got our books on Monday afternoon of last week, and Freddie and I were doing best of all last week, and every morning we would come in and say, what chapter are you up to? And it was like one of those things where Fred's like, I don't know how I'm going to look at Robin again. I was like,
well, that's exactly what you said to me. He said, Robin, I can't look at you. Remember that day you came in and said, I can't look at you.
No, I still can't look at you. I'm the one who told Fred to put up all those cards so I can't see your face.
If I would have read chapter 2 and seen you like an hour later, I don't know what I would have done. But letting a week go by makes it a little bit easier.
The thing is, I would have just as much trouble, but on multi levels, it would on a multitude of layers. Number one, she's a bullshit artist because I know this, and the other thing aren't true. And number two, if even a fraction of some of that stuff was true, she's completely insane.
Yes. And they also, you can tell just by the way they're reacting, this is the first time that they're getting to confront her on some of this. Mm-hmm. So it's probably feels really good. Mm-hmm. They probably feel a little bit like, wow, great. We finally get to discuss this, because if this were even a fraction of true, mm-hmm. wouldn't you be discussing this? I mean, I've worked with you for how many years? Yeah. None of this came. Hey, coffee, nothing.
Nothing slipped out.
Not even a little bit. Like, I have coworkers that we know stuff about each other, not everything. But if I wrote a book like this, they would be like, who are you?
Right, exactly.
Like I don't want them to know everything about my life. But what if I was like, yeah, I have 8 kids and,
right,
3 dads, and I grew up at the circus.
Right, I was a Mennonite.
It is not. I mean, that's how nuts this book is. When you compare it to how she's lived her life with them throughout the early 80s and beyond, they have known her. So for her to not share any of this until this point
mm-hmm.
is shocking.
Yeah, and insane. Actually, because
it's insane shocking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because you're right. Because at certain points of your life, when you're talking to people, things will slip out. Now, if you're lying about those things when you talk about them and they find out later that they're not true, well, then that lowers their estimation of you anyway, or it would of any sane person if you decided this is my friend. Oh, I've just found out that her entire story about this is complete bullshit. You would think less of that person. You'd have to.
Well, especially since this type of medium is one where you're on the air speaking for hours a day and you're preparing for a show. Mm-hmm. And so this is a lot more intimate than most cubicles. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
that makes it more apt for people to know each other as coworkers because of the significant amount of time and the task of the job, which is speaking to each other and speaking to an audience. It's not like typing or a receptionist or a hairdresser. It's just not. It's different. So I don't understand how this could all just bypass through the years and not even a mention.
And when we get done with this clip, I don't know, we'll probably make it another recording session, but we'll put it all together. We're going to definitely have a thing where we play the later, like more in the 2000s. There's a segment where she talks about the book and says, I made it all up. And she admits finally, like we have to, because that's a perfect bookend for this bullshit.
Well, and she did. Remember, they said, she goes, I had the publisher, something was on me. I had to make it good.
Yeah.
Plus remember, it was right after his book.
It was right after. Well, it was a year and a bit after Private Parts, but it was 3 or 4 months before Miss America, which he wrote, as I've said many times, to fucking spite her and show her, this is how you make a bestseller, bitch. Eat my dust, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, here's a bunch of pictures and nonsense, fake OCD diagnosis.
Fruity cartoons.
I would have hugged her by chapter 9. I would have said, ooh.
I talked to Gary, and Gary said, me and Fred got our Robin book just there. I said, yeah, how is it? And it was like silence, and it was like,
I don't know what to say.
He couldn't even talk.
I don't know, Jackie.
Billy, did you get one?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Good. I can still talk to you.
He still has respect for me.
Okay, no wonder I didn't get a call from Billy.
I will tell you that
my book generates calls.
It definitely does.
I will tell you that there are a lot of listeners out there who are in for a big surprise, because I think that they think it's going to be this like sort of fun, almost like a joke book or something.
Why don't you let them be surprised?
Oh, they will be. Don't worry.
What are you trying to do? Scare them off? She's trying to sell books.
Believe me,
please,
I'm telling everyone they should buy this
Gary,
book.
I'm about to call you stupid.
No, everyone should buy this book.
There you go.
Everyone.
There you go.
And I'm not just saying that. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Really? Well, that's a good endorsement from Baba Fu.
See, when we read it, I did not enjoy it. I thought it was, first of all, I thought it was horseshit, and it was so poorly written. And the Photoshop has already been made. I took a picture of the book, one of the random chapters, and I highlighted all the I's, me's, and my's, and there were like 54 of them, something like that.
You guys did this with Benjamin, and I remember how, it was, you and Benjamin were phenomenal when you went over this. Mm-hmm. But this was the problem for me when I read this, was it not only did not seem true, it seemed flaky. It made me not like her. And it was the way they were selling this on the show, right? Like this, you would want to go out and buy it. Okay, you go buy it. Mm-hmm. And then you read it and you're just left with this, who is this person? And they're an awful person.
Well, that's the takeaway. Like, I still don't understand. I guess, consult with Bob on this one. I don't understand how even a narcissist could say this book was good for them to make, because how could you not see that this book makes you look like a monster?
I don't know. And I've read it multiple times just for research. Mm-hmm. And I can't understand how anyone could read this and not come away with the fact that this person is a nightmare.
Right. Like, for example, like say Judith Regan, say the publisher reads it and she goes through the draft and she goes, do you want to leave in that? Do you really want to leave in that part about,
ditching your little sister?
Yeah. Like, beating up the foster kids, like maybe that, that you were beaten and they were beaten and you beat them up as well.
So this made me more mad than when we did those Sally Jesse Raphael shows.
Oh, yeah.
Because she, after writing something like that, mm-hmm. then continues on in her oral narrative of being mm-hmm. this go-getter, breaks all the odds, amazing, proactive human being, which she is none of those things if you read
mm-hmm.
the book. So
yes.
It's a complete dichotomy of one person in the book and then this person that she projects orally on talk shows while she's promoting the book. And if you read the book, it's nothing like the lady that she talks about on a talk show.
My favorite part of that Sally Jesse thing, beyond the person challenging her, and she does that face, the one that we used for the Photoshop, was when she flippantly goes on, which Sally says something like, you attempted suicide, didn't you? And she, well, I always had in the back of my mind that, I can always just kill myself if things don't go the way I want them to. And that's how she confronted suicide. That's no joke. And I'm not joking about it, guys. I know our audience. I know there's people out there who have had struggles and struggle with depression and stuff. And it is honestly, on a personal level,
we're not
making fun mocking
of
that one bit. I'm saying it's embarrassing and really more indicative of how much of a fucking repugnant monster she is to throw that in there as an aside, as something very frivolous, like a fucking hair curler that you just use and throw away, and just decide to sell books by throwing the notion of suicide when she was never remotely suicidal.
She wasn't suicidal. The things that she should have been suicidal about, if they were true, should have taken place at different parts of her life, not the ones that she said in the book. And
right, early on,
like
especially.
that, and to say, like you said, as an aside, so flippantly like that is it's just atrocious. It's embarrassing. It's atrocious. And she said it like the kitchen sink. Like, I did all of this and this. Like, how much more do you want on this Sunday?
Yeah, it's really unbelievable.
There you go.
He enjoyed Robin's pain.
He came in and said, "Boss, I can't put it down. I'm even in the toilet with it."
That book is in your toilet.
I take it to the bathroom. I cannot.
Wait, quick. Howard has a part here. I just want everybody to notice that.
Oh,
the hair. Yeah. We haven't seen that in a long time. I don't know if you guys have, but I'm pretty sure it's been a dish rag kitchen sink pull out if you don't have a garbage disposal for a long time. So here's a part, everyone.
Put that book down.
There's an ad for the book, Gary. Shit on the crap.
You'd like to
Can I get a picture of
If you'd like to take a picture of me and use it in the New York Times, go for it.
Chapter 7. Robin meets Wolf.
Where's the paper, Mary?
And Gary has this retention. Like, I read your book,
but you can't remember.
Yeah, this was the time. If you can't, sorry guys, the resolution isn't really up to snuff. This is the only copy of this video I have. When he was doing the hair plugs thing at this point, he was trying to get back to what his hair originally was at Wilmette. If you look at those original pictures, the high school graduation pictures, this is the exact same look that he's trying to go for. So it's naturalistic in the attempt, but it's probably one of the last times you will see a part not dead center, which it ends up being later on, which is impossible because your hair is your hair. You don't reinvent your scalp.
Right. So you see a part here, but there's extensions and plugs and things put in there because you could see in the back, see where his headphones are, how it floofs out in the back. It's like almost teased. So those are pieces. And then you can also see how it curves around his, I guess, jug chin. I don't know, double chin.
Sure. Yeah.
Like right here. Okay. So that thickness is not natural. So there are extensions under there because his hair was not naturally that thick ever until this point.
You and Kayla and Raven should do a hair show. Well, you should definitely all be on the hair show, and I should get the fuck out of Dodge because she mentioned something similar when we were covering a video because it's of the same era, and she said something about how there's only so much you can do with the hair to make it look a certain way without going into extensions or basically fake pieces because they don't do that. As
you go through life as a girl, you will know people in your life who you've seen and you're just like, where did all this hair come from?
Yes.
You just know them. And you can get away with it as a girl, but you know that it's fake. This is the same sort of similar thing because he has long hair. So I can tell that there's fake pieces sewn in either by beads or clip-ins or something that is in that hair. It is not all real.
Right. When we get to talk to Spencer Coburn, which I'd love to make it a 5-hour episode in terms of hair because I have none. The progression of surgery through the years and what it entailed in especially mid 90s, let's say. Like if we show him a picture of this or different pictures, he's not going to. We're say, look. We're not saying this is fake, but if it was fake, how would the procedure go? What would it be like? What would it entail? And how long before you'd have to get these things fixed, or what kind of maintenance is involved? That kind of shit. He should be more than happy to answer.
Well, this is a lot of why, like, I never had extensions. I never did any of that because it's maintenance.
Yeah.
And do you want to be on this schedule? Like, same with people who do the fake eyelashes and stuff. No hate to that. Like, you can do whatever you want. Fake hair, fake eyelashes, like, good for you. I don't want to spend my money on that. But I also just think it's something that, then you have that vroom of something. And then what happens when you have to get rid of it? I just don't understand it.
Well, that's it. It's also time consuming. And a lot of effort as well. I mean, like I know you're with you.
But I
just
also
having
don't have not thick hair, so I have like decent amount of hair.
Well, there you go. But it's still work to deal with your own hair, let alone this extra bullshit.
Yes. My friends would say, "Oh, I got to get my extensions changed." What? It's like hundreds of dollars.
Right. And it's not just your hair. You're helping Mia deal with her hair and brushing hers out and whatever. And the tangles and fucking whatever bed head and all that shit. I don't even because I know my wife now she's now now that her hair has grown back.
She's like 11 on Stranger Things. So like 11 had, she had the shaved head. She reminds me of 11 now. Like you want to see what it's going to look like in season 3.
Oh man, it's super curly. It's just like exactly like she was when she was 3 years old. The kind of curls you pay for, and she's had to. But now she says they're almost paining now. So because of the neuropathy, but she loves the fact that it grew back so amazingly. But then the problem is she's waking up with this hair that looks like it's escaping. The curls are just flying off her head.
For our listeners who don't know, Fillmore's wife had survived cancer and such a fighter, and she had her head and all her hair gone, and it's growing back, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And so, but it is kind of scary sometimes. Sometimes deliberately she'll come at me in the morning and she'll wake up first. And then when I wake up, I see her hair. She's poofed it up a little more so that it's just this massive like attack of curls going way up in the air. It's funny as shit. Like if you were Ed Grimley and did a little mohawk instead, pointed your hair up. It was funny. Anyway, back to the nonsense.
I mean, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember everything. Gary's like,
do you believe what Robin on page 97 says the following?
I mean, he can actually quote from your book.
I can, and I remember everything. When something,
you're like idiots savant.
When it stays in my mind, I can't get it out.
I read the book, and I wrote stuff down so I'd have something to say to Robin afterwards. Because I can't remember stuff after I read it.
I can't remember what's in the book as well as Gary.
No, Gary will know better.
And I read it a million times, believe me.
There are people who interview me about my book. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even.
He's right. He has zero retention. Zero.
When that's another indicator.
Yeah.
See how he says, yeah, I get it. I don't remember either because you're both full of shit.
Yes, completely. Yeah. And I'd say the only parts of, let's say, private parts, the book, that might be true are, of course, the appearances that he discusses. And when people come in, because then he's quoting appearance lines from whoever was in studio, then there's video to support those interviews, most of them.
If we wrote autobiographies about ourselves and you asked me something and I said, I don't know. What?
Right. Well, I mean, that either means you had a great time or you had a frontal lobotomy. Because, if you can't remember certain stretches due to blackouts and getting fucked up, I mean, then you're, reading Robin's book. But either way,
no ice picks to the skull for me.
So, guys, I managed to find one of the clips from Quivers of Life just so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. I have the audiobook files, and it's a little muffled, and she's nasal. I don't know why she recorded herself. I guess she had studio time booked and couldn't get out of it, but she sounds like, she's got a head cold. And this is called Money Mismanagement plus Ice Cream.
It was time to start thinking about getting out of the Air Force. I could actually feel my future about to begin when the Air Force threw me a hard, fast curve. One payday, I'd noticed that my check was short and had gone to the finance office to get the discrepancy resolved. Maybe if I'd never questioned that check, everything would have been okay. As it was, I discovered that the Air Force had been overpaying me the entire time I'd been in.
So,
I discovered it.
Maybe if I haven't put up the discrepancy. So she was ready to leave, right?
Right.
She knew that it was going to come to a head. Because I'm sure once you leave, there are some formalities, like with any sort of union thing. Like if I leave the union, if I leave Erie County, you have to have your situation
squared
away. There is no way that she didn't know that she was being overpaid. None. Because the checks, it didn't happen right away. So she started getting overpaid and just said nothing. And she knew she was going to have to deal with it. So she went to the finance office, found out the bad news, and now is presenting this in this situation, even though, let me give you an example of what this is like. I work as a welfare fraud investigator. Say somebody is getting benefits, okay? They get this allotted amount, but then you only get this amount if your income is at a certain level. If you start making over that level, you are no longer entitled to that same amount of benefits.
Right. It has to be recalculated.
So if you start having unreported income and your worker finds out, guess who owes the money back? You. But you knew that because you're working extra or you're doing things on the side like selling drugs, breeding dogs, whatever. I mean, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Okay. This is exactly what it's like. You knew that you were making extra and you didn't report your income. So now you have to square it away. It's the exact same thing.
For a minute there, you sounded a bit like Marcia Clark. You knew what you were going to do. So,
fuck Marcia Clark. I would have won that murder trial.
Well, the thing is, one of the first things they would have told her is, upon entering the Air Force, is this is going to be what you make. And it doesn't take a fucking brain surgeon to sort out, this many hours, this rate of pay, this is how much it should be. I mean, give or take, you take out taxes, whatever, there should be a little, less than what you expect because you don't know how much they're taking away. But suddenly there's more, and it's been happening the entire fucking year, 2 years it's happening. No way. No way. She knew. It's just the same way you explain to clients, here's your amount of benefits. If you make over this amount. That's right.
And we find out, you will owe this back.
So here we go.
Same thing.
Payments now amounted to a staggering $10,000. The whole thing was the result of a clerical error, but that didn't stop the Air Force from wanting me to return the cash.
Okay. Now, I will say this. There is something called, in departments, it's called agency error, which means you fuck up on your part. So for them, the Air Force fucked up and paid her more. In social services, sometimes we fuck up and we pay you more, even if you say you reported an income or even if you say you have a different household composition. Doesn't matter, because we explain to you the terms. If we're loaning you this money, if we're giving you these benefits, if, for example, Robin's getting this salary, it is on you to report if there's a discrepancy, because
that's right.
You are the one that's getting paid. I know it sounds unfair, and in a lot of reasonable ways, I think it is, but it doesn't matter. Agency error, if you come in and say, hey, why do I have a bill all of a sudden because you screwed up? Well, because you needed the money and this is the way it is.
Was forced to extend my tour of duty for 6 months, taking a huge salary cut to expedite the payback. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I had no other options. At that point, my life began to unravel completely. I stopped seeing people and stopped paying bills. My phone was eventually shut off. For the first time in my life, I couldn't manage to do anything. I'd burst into tears at the drop of a hat. I lost track of time. The only thing that really made me feel better was ice cream. Soon it became my entire diet. I was putting away up to a gallon a day. I didn't feel secure unless there was at least a half gallon in the freezer.
So unlike clients who I feel sympathetic over who have agency error and owe back money, this isn't one of them.
No, it isn't. This is someone who just is completely fucked up with, they don't know how to manage money, how to manage bills, their life, anything.
This is somebody who knew they were getting paid more and didn't report it originally to the finance agency.
Completely irresponsible.
So I understand the plight of people sometimes who come into my office and say, I didn't know. Fine. It doesn't matter, though, because you signed this contract which says this is what it is. Robin knew. Robin knew she was getting paid more. She can say all she wants, like, oh, I was so happy I was going to be getting out of the Air Force. It was going to be great. And but then I knew I had to tie up these loose ends because you knew.
Yep.
Remember what's in there.
Is that me? There are just things in the book that I'm really surprised that, having known you for 11 years, haven't come out on the air. You know, little things.
Like what?
Like that Robin once dated a married guy. We've talked to Robin about sex 1,000 times.
She did once mention that, though.
Did she?
Yes.
I don't ever remember
but I
it.
don't dwell on it.
Well, you should, because you're dwelling on the book.
I prefer not to dwell on it. It's probably not true anyway.
Oh, stop.
It's all lies. Well, the guy's
You
name...
are so crazy. He says I made up my whole book.
I don't know. I think half of it, I think it's 50% of it's made up.
The thing with the married guy, it's like Robin is always this arbiter of truth and morals and, you know, how she treated women who came in to this show.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get a revelation like that and you just think to yourself, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
You know? That's horrible.
I wouldn't put it past her if she had done it, because she's morally she's bereft of, you know, any real kind of guilt when it comes to this shit.
But if you are, would you ever treat the people that come into the studio who also have, you know, wavering morals the way she did? Like she's some pious person. It's ridiculous.
You would if you were a complete narcissist and didn't see your own fucking foibles and were proud of them because they made you seem like some kind of rebel or some kind of, like in your demented mind, you know, oh, I was anti-establishment by buying a fucking color TV in the Air Force when I couldn't afford it.
So all these things are fine for her because her story ended up successful. But for everybody else who ended up in not a successful situation, she has that judgmental, goddamn
haughtiness
rhetoric towards them. It's ridiculous and shitty.
It's horrible, yeah.
Or she believes it, but it never really happened.
I think it never happened.
What, I imagined my entire life?
Delusion. Fred sort of said
that crazy.
Fred actually sort of said that to me without having spoken to you. Fred said that he thought that some of it had become like sort of like I guess almost
blown up.
Of course.
Okay, so I exaggerated everything.
Romanticized.
Like you see how Robin
romantic?
in the book doesn't get along with her family at all and everything.
Right.
Okay. When I met Robin,
here we go.
Let me tell you something.
What did I ever say to you about my family? What did I ever say to you?
Nothing.
Hold on.
Fred.
Right.
Fred.
Yes.
When we met Robin, more than you, who went home every day, drove from Washington to Baltimore.
Excuse me,
and live with Fred and I are discussing the book now.
Robin did.
This has nothing to do with you.
All right.
This is the conversation Gary and I had.
Go ahead.
This body language of hers and this setup of how she's saying, what? She is defensive as fuck right now. She is not somebody who believes what she said in this book.
Yep.
Because instead of being on the offensive, if something so terrible like that ever happened to you, would you respond to it in the way that she's responding to this allegation that's being lobbed at her right now?
And
Never.
And this is the thing, guys. A lot of people, there's some blind defenders of Robin and will believe anything she fucking says and just say, oh, I do believe it.
It's the same Amber Heard crowd.
It really is at this point in time. You have no leg to stand on, because if you read the book, and if you actually read the book and did your due diligence, you'd know that she went back to her family every time there was a fuck up. They bailed her out financially, emotionally, everything. And she went there. She went back to the house, and according to her, treated like three of them like shit. She went she was like an indentured. They were indentured servants. Her mother and father to her. Oh, and falling on her face every fucking time, coming back, crying back to mother. Like, if you loan me this money, mother, this is what's coming out with this is the stipulations in which I'll return. You're not coming from a position of power, you fucking idiot. You blew your money going out west to do the thing.
She blew her money,
which is now landmark form.
Lay around and have them clean up after her on purpose
and everything, and said, I had no concern over it. I didn't care about it. And then so if you, and I understand real survivors of abuse, it's not the same for every single one of them. They're survivors of incest or whatever. Everybody is not the same. I understand that. But after a certain point, when you come to this, she had a moment of clarity and these things happened to her. You don't go back to these fucking molesters. You don't go back to them and constantly rely on them for help. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And you certainly don't parade them back. You have them back in your is there a level of forgiveness where you can actually put a big picture of them in your fucking book and then bring them into the studio and parade them around like you're proud of them? There's no way.
Not every survivor of abuse has the same story.
Right.
But there are similar patterns and similar behaviors amongst survivors. And when they don't believe a survivor, like an Amber Heard or like a Robin, it's because they suss out the fact that something in this story does not make sense, does not breathe genuine to them.
Right.
And
something's rotten.
Robin is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just doesn't jibe with the truth. It doesn't sound right.
You do not write a book like this with all these allegations and behave like we are witnessing right now.
Right. And the abuser in question, her father, literally gets a bite on the shoulder and then stops forevermore. Like he's just not going to, and doesn't abuse the other kids. Well, we know of, whatever. Maybe she didn't know. I don't, she could argue, oh, I didn't know. I only knew what he did to me. Sounds like you knew everything that was going on in the fucking house, the way you wrote it. So it's just, and her mother comes off as, this really abusive, stern, austere.
But she's amazing on air. The mother.
She was actually, yeah, totally. And do I believe that she was beaten, as a kid? Like, was there corporal punishment in her house? I'm certain that was very much, very common back then. Yeah, that's not unbelievable.
I was spanked as a kid.
Almost. Yeah, we were hit. I mean,
I was spanked as a kid. I will never forget it. I was 5 years old. I was squirting squirt guns, and we got each other soaked in the backyard with the neighborhood kids when we were told we shouldn't get our clothes wet. And I came in the house soaked, and we got spanked. Like, that was just what it was. And we had to sit in our rooms in our wet clothes. And no, I didn't feel abused. I felt like I fucked up. I didn't listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a conversation Gary and I had.
All right.
This book is the wildest book I ever read.
It's definitely a flight of fancy.
And let me say something. Was she mommy and daddy's little girl when we met her?
Did I ever?
Excuse me, I'm talking to Fred. I'm interviewing Fred about his impression.
It sounded like the Nelson family.
Right. And, in fact, we were jealous. She would go home.
Exactly.
All laundry, all food, every need would be taken care of. She'd show up at work like a princess.
Didn't I address that in the book?
She does.
Yes, you did. I don't buy any of that.
Look at how nervous her hands are. Look at how nervous her hands are. Her hands are moving so nervously. This also, too, like the spanking, I think about that, and I don't think it was, how it's like so not something you do now. Do you really think it was bad spanking? Because like I don't think my parents were abusive.
Well, I never got spanked. I got smacked in the face when I did something wrong, and I also got a lot of wooden spoons broken over my arms and shoulders, and even head a couple times. But I was a pretty good kid. Generally, it was my brother that got more of that because he was really willful, as they used to say. And he doesn't. We get along great with our parents. Dad, unfortunately, as people know, is not quite there anymore. But mom, we laugh about it because there are Greek expressions like "thelis na fas xylo," which translates to "do you want to eat wood?" And it doesn't. It's not a sexual thing, guys. It's literally about the fucking wooden spoons. And every friend we had the same stories because they had the same generation of parents. So it was completely de rigueur. It was completely normal. And so you don't see that as abnormal. What's abnormal to us in this era is kids not being able to fail kids in elementary school. They can't get left back. Kids getting ribbons for just showing up, like doing the Woody Allen thing. Half the battle is being there. No, there were consequences. How do you know the joys of winning something if you're never allowed to lose?
I find the challenge of being a parent in this generation is the lack of consequences that it's so hard to give kids consequences now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you really have to not start them with things. I mean, I don't give Mia a phone. She doesn't have social media. There's no, I really just think that there's a lack of consequences for kids these days. The way that they are, and I didn't think of it like, you're saying like smack in the face or the spoon or whatever. I don't think of it as abusive, as it really just taught us,
their
this
boundaries.
Isn't good. I know that spanking isn't good. Like I would never hit my kid, but I understand how I didn't think of it back then as abusive.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's all context, and it's all, the whole culture is a permissive loony bin now where, taking away privileges, that's considered punishment. I'm the old school. Like I grew up like that. I don't know that I would. And when I was hit, it wasn't for no reason. That's the whole point. I did grow up with kids who were beaten by their parents unnecessarily, and that's not correct. That's the complete other extreme. We're talking about psychopaths here, or victims of abuse raising other kids to abuse them.
Like Robin's parents, apparently.
Yeah, I mean the way she would have you believe that they brought in kids just to use as punching bags, which I'm certain it goes along with. I know it goes along with a lot of households, but either way, unfortunately. So the idea now, for example, like you raising Mia, your youngster, as to have specific boundaries, and once they know these boundaries, they begin to accept them as a matter of course. The problem I find with now today in this situation, Mia would be considered the outcast because she's got a bunch of friends who have zero boundaries or fewer boundaries from their parents. I'm not saying she's friends with a bunch of idiots. I'm saying parents today are all afraid DYFUS is going to come and take their fucking kids because they took away their phone or because they took out the belt and threatened them, but didn't hit them.
Her friends will say to her, why don't you have WhatsApp chat or some, I don't even know what these
Snapchat,
things are. Okay.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Whatever. And she wrote back and she screenshotted it and sent it to me. She goes, my mom made me listen to a Senate hearing. They personally sexualize children and do all these things to them or whatever. She wrote this message back, this long message, and saying, and it's not good for our body image. And it's not good for our self-esteem. So I would never get that app. Like I have drilled this in her head that social media is horrible for kids.
Yeah, it is. Right? When you're an adult, it's a different story. You still have to be careful. But either way, in life, there are boundaries. Like what you learn as kids, I'm sorry to get so preachy here, what you learn as kids, that's a microcosm for the rest of your life. In school, there are boundaries, there are punishment, there's rules, regulations, there's things you have to abide by. At work, socially, amongst your friends, relationships within like personal relationships that are close, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, all the bullshit. It doesn't matter, straight, gay, whatever. There are always boundaries. And if you raise a kid that do not understand or respect or acknowledge that these things exist, you're raising a fucking sociopath. You're raising someone who really won't have any empathy and doesn't give a fuck about anything but themselves.
So when we think of this in the terms of Robin, there must have been something that raised her to be this, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things of narcissism, I remember reading back, it was ages and ages ago, one of the things for NPD, if she has it, it would be like an overt form of it, not what Howard's covert, is excessively abusive, like too much punishment, which is what I'm sure what it was. She was just punished for no reason from her parents, from one parent or the other. The dad was probably absentee because he was working, and back then it would be like Ben Stern, not around to discipline, so the mother's the disciplinarian, which is the way it was in our family. But she was working too, so.
And I also think if you look back into her past, she was raised with a bunch of white people in school. Mm-hmm. And then when she grew up, those people treated her differently. So yes. I think there's a lot of resentment, and I think she grew up not as poor as she said.
I think in any case, her success, a lot like Howard's, was really being tied in at the right place at the right time with the right people, because the way she writes about it in the book, she failed upwards completely. You know, especially totally. At NBC. I mean, Christ's sakes, the stuff if you read that, you'd never hire her for a gig. Never.
You not even write a paper. It was ridiculous.
Right. I mean, the fact that she fucked up copy on purpose.
I can't read a certain amount of things in a certain amount of time.
So I'll do less work. So I'll read 3 stories instead of 4. And then not only that, but I have to get my stuff proofread because I was the dumb kid in school.
I mean, could you imagine Meredith Vieira saying that? I was just like, what?
Right.
Food or the laundry being done or any of that.
Oh, the best home life I ever saw.
Yeah. She was chipper when she left.
Right.
Then I made it all up. You're absolutely right.
Told you.
I am a great novelist.
Well, I told you.
Well, you did make it up, and you're not a great novelist. The book is really horrendously, awfully written, and that's the other her writing style is atrocious. Like, let's forget about all the other stuff.
I'll never forget when you did this. You pointed out every single grammatical paragraphs, everything. You just said was awful.
Oh my God!
And you were right.
Well, my wife's the same way. When we read books and have to fucking proofread them as we're reading them, we get pissed off because that means some editor got paid for nothing, or they didn't have the money to spring for a proper copy editor and just proofread the thing the way it should be done. And anyway, guys, I'll try to throw some graphics of the examples of writing. But either way, the audio, what you got was from the audiobook that she narrated, but it's only about, I don't know, a third, maybe 40% of the book, not even. It's really truncated.
I mean, Robin,
you admit it.
Robin, have you believed that she had a house full of friendly Yule Christmas logs that she was gnawing on like an animal?
Oh, please. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what happened when she wrote that book. She flipped her lid.
I think she was doing ecstasy.
Crystal meth.
This'll make a great chapter.
I was with OJ in the car when he went to Burger King.
Fred, am I right, though? It was some wild stuff in there. I mean, it's a good book.
I swear to God.
I just want to know whose life
you
that
can
is.
ask my wife. I was sitting in bed at night. Then this is not a book to read before you go to sleep at night. It gave me nightmares. I was reading this thing, and I'd take one page at a time, and I'd put it down to my chest, and I go, I don't believe this.
You were there, right?
Exactly.
So was I.
And I go, Allison.
Exactly. Where's the corroboration?
That's why she's so perturbed earlier on when you mentioned about her body language. It's because she's in the studio now with 2 people who would be able to tell you yes or no based on or completely, even if stuff in there was true, they could say, she never told us that never came out. We never heard this. And that's what they're saying, basically.
This would be exactly like the Amber Heard thing. You get her on the stand. Who else is there to see and say what you're saying? Nobody. not a fucking person.
Why don't you at least have video footage of him beating you? Why don't you have audio of him smacking you around and you're crying? And because, I mean, obviously when you get hit, it's not like you're not going to go, oh, Jesus, that hurt.
Oh, no,
wow,
you went to the Don Rickles thing. Perfectly fine. When he headbutted you and you thought you broke your nose.
Right.
I mean, and you have a picture of her looking like a porcelain doll. This is exactly what it's like. Where are the people, Robin, to say any of this? There's not a person. So when Fred says, I don't believe this, I agree.
Yeah, we don't have to look past it.
This is not the person I know. Who is this? Who is this picture?
You know who that is? That's Roseanne.
There you go.
She got hypnotized.
There you go.
Oh, you got.
They should have had a picture on.
You hear this laugh? Everyone hears this laugh. All our listeners hear this laugh. If this was really your traumatic life, would this be your reaction to your trauma?
Well, first of all, that we know that where the laugh comes from. So most people know they would not. But this is nervous laughter because she's being called out on her bullshit. That's exactly
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is not a laugh of somebody who really experienced these things, because they would take it deadly fucking seriously.
Shouldn't you be indignant at your coworkers mocking your fucking struggle and your words and your prose?
Indignant? You would be beyond pissed off.
Like, how dare you say this is bullshit? This is my life. That kind of thing. If it was at all true, or even let's say 80% true. It's infuriating because they're not even going as deep as they should on this. Like they're doing a good job, but they're not going as much because they know they don't have to deal with her after the fact.
But even as petty as these surface sort of digs,
the observations,
shoveling this is, as surface as this is her reaction.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Isn't it?
On the back of the author with typing with one hand and a crack pipe in the other.
My inspiration.
The author at work.
I think this book was Mad Libs. This book was Mad Libs. Let's see, what can I make up next?
Then I went home and
they're going to arrest you like that guy who wrote the book about Howard Hughes.
Exactly. Except she's going to sue herself.
Yeah.
The unauthorized biography.
Our next book is going to be a book denying everything that went on in that book.
And the Roseanne reference, by the way, is because she had released around that time, her and Fran Drescher both released books about the abuse that they suffered growing up. Fran recalls being raped, actually, like outright, not just molestation. And Roseanne claimed she suffered this, and it was met with skepticism by her own family. But we'll never know if it's true or not. I didn't read the Roseanne book, so I can't comment because she's written a couple books, I think, since then. Yep.
I was a huge Hitchcock fan, and Tippi Hedren was. She wrote a book about her abuse from Alfred Hitchcock, and there was an HBO movie subsequently regarding her abuse because he was obsessed with her, and he treated her so poorly and tried to fuck her like every chance he could.
Yeah.
And just horrible abuse. And so in the years afterward, she would say, nice things about him and whatever. But then as years went on, she really was open and honest about how he ruined her career. And you believe this because you saw the trajectory of her career, and you also could see, even in her body language in interviews when she was being nice, she was so tight, and there was something that you could tell was wrong.
Yeah.
This is not that.
Well, Hitchcock had such power in the business that she had to be wary until she didn't have to anymore. And basically, if you read up on it, he was of course, a genius director, but like a monster of a man. So but
again,
you can
this
separate
is somebody
the two.
who was abused, and you can see what somebody who is genuinely abused is like. And it's not Robin.
Yeah.
Tippi Hedren was not doing this.
Look at check out any Mackenzie Phillips interview when she released her book. she's not laughing. I mean, she laughs at certain. There might be some things there that she laughs about, but it's not about the fucking being like penetrated by her fucking father, that she makes light of it or that she jokes about it and laughs about it in front of an audience. There's just nothing like that.
Or the Woody Allen thing. And Alec Baldwin just did a live with Woody Allen. I thought they were planning to. Did that get released? I haven't. What was that on? It went horrible. It went on Alec Baldwin Instagram Live. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So he said he's going to do an their internet went out 3 times. Alec got upset. He ran to the door and yelled in Spanish at one of his, I don't know, nannies, housekeepers. The dogs, Leonetta, the dogs. But he's saying it in Spanish. Enough. And then he comes back. Woody's internet is out. It is the funniest thing he's done in years.
I'll have to check it out. I thought it was going to be a network thing. It was on Instagram. I forgot.
It was Instagram Live.
So there's got to be a way to see that on YouTube, perhaps.
Oh, it is hilarious. Everybody's talking about it.
All right, I'll download it and watch it this weekend because that might be worth a breakdown.
Hysterical.
Okay, good. I'm more excited about this than the next episode of The Boys.
I have a question for you.
I love The
We won't
Boys.
carry this on for too long, but has your family read the book?
My mother is reading it now.
See, that's where we need a camera.
Oh, man, that is the cruelest of all. Talk about it. You know what? There's nothing crueler.
Excuse me. I think my life was a little bit cruel.
Oh, when that woman reads that book.
Reading is not hard.
My God.
Did your mother have an idea of what you're writing about, or did you just hand her this book?
Oh, absolutely.
So she knew what it was about. It wasn't
What are you talking about? I'm not a liar.
No. I wasn't sure if she knew what was going on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. And absolutely Howard saying what he just said says it all. That woman, he just knows. And look at her pursed lips and just indignant.
Smug.
Oh, God, she's such a fucking liar.
She helped me write it.
Poor old woman at the end of her life.
Yep.
She gets a reward. Good job. Here, Ma. Read. By the way, give a few to your neighbors when they hang you.
And so if any of this were true, and Robin really thought that, and they really thought Robin thought that, they would not be doing any of this. But they are pressing her like it's a Comedy Central roast now.
Right.
And she is reacting like a roast person, like she's the person being roasted, and it's all fun and games. But it's not. It's supposed to be your life. They know it's false.
Yep.
You know it's false. And everybody's just having a good time. But meanwhile, your mother is going to be marked as an
abusive mother. Yeah.
Until all these years later, when people like us actually read the book and read into these people, and we give them their fucking comeuppance, and hallelujah, enjoy.
I happen to think that it's hard. It's worse to do some things than to actually read that they were done.
No,
it's worth reading them.
It's worth reading them.
Keep wringing your hands, Robin. She keeps wringing her hands.
Wouldn't you be like, I understand people being nervous in terms of like a courtroom. Let's say you're on the stand, it's just not a comfortable place. Oh God, it would be fun.
If she were on the stand wringing her hands like this, Fillmore, you'd be bye-bye. 30 years to life.
You'd be what's her name? Vasquez, Carmen. No, what's her?
Would I be the attorney, Camille Vasquez?
Camille Vasquez. I keep saying Carmen. I'm thinking of the kid, the
my
hilarious
spirit
kid.
Animal.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can you imagine someone with half a brain cross-examining Robin?
Rick said this my fiance said this during the trial when I had him. He goes, you would be perfect at this.
You'd be devouring Amber, and Amber would be doing. She'd never make eye contact the same way she didn't throughout most of the questions and answers. It was all, let me interpret, let me get the answer, then I'll look over at the jury and looking for. If you check those body language guys, they nailed it perfectly. She was looking for specific jurors to connect with.
She's upset about Fred not connecting with her because he's got the carts up. Yeah. That was her connection. She doesn't have that. So she's wringing her hands. She's nervous Nelly during this.
Yep.
Good job. Will your mom be at my
And if you don't want to read about them, don't do them.
Is your mom going to go to book signings with you?
No.
Because I'll go to that.
No.
She'll be tied up.
You'd have a book burning in
Robin gave her mother the cliff notes to finish her off quicker. Here, here's the parts about you.
Oh, man.
Here, Mom.
I'm sure you're in the book a lot more than she is.
Oh, I know I am. I counted the pages.
But there's not a bad word about Howard.
No.
There's
You better not be. I'm a saint.
It's too soon to make it up.
It's too soon.
Jackie's the best. It's too soon to make it up.
Oh. Too soon.
God love him. I love Jackie. God bless him. Sorry?
And look at her. She's laughing, hooking it up. It's all
attention.
It's all
It's attention. She loves it. She loves it. She's happier than a pig in Friendly's ice cream.
well, it's also how she deals with things that are uncomfortable.
Yep.
I mean, this example could be put up against anything we do when she's uncomfortable.
What part of it was it where, well, it was the goodbye, Jason.
Goodbye, Jason, and the bagel-thon. Run for the bagels.
The Cleveland book signing. Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
I can't wait till we get that one done. And we might have to draw straws to see who can do that one.
Wait till we push something on Robin that is untrue and see how she reacts. It's like a laughing bomb.
Yep.
Hear that?
Says it's too soon to make it up.
I got to get away from you.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, now that I've read
imagine bad stuff about you.
now that I've read the book, I can't figure out if we're all having fun.
What is she doing with her hands? Do you see this? I am obsessed with this, with her hands. What is she doing with her hands? This is not a person who's honest.
Probably drying them out because they're fucking sweaty from clasping them the entire time and going, well, Jesus, this is going not the way I planned it once I released it.
There's no Johnny Cochran here, Robin. The glove is not going to fit.
Nope.
Or if Robin's behind that glass having more thoughts.
I don't know. See, that's the problem. I don't know that she's cured.
She's behind the glass talking to herself about us. This is a sequel.
How do we know you're cured even? How do we know there's not another book going on?
You didn't know when I was sick and you got a long time. So
No.
don't worry about it.
I was thinking in the audio version. Are you going to do an audio version?
I did it already.
Oh, you should have had your mother read her part. That would have been good.
See, you're always producing her.
Yeah, but I didn't want to say anything.
See, you are cruel.
I know. I would.
You're always reducing her. Why would you say that? She said that in a way that's so, boom, reactive that you know that what she said in the book isn't true.
Yeah, and once again, guys, I encourage you to get a used copy for 99 cents at some fucking paperback joint that sells used books and see for yourself and immediately throw it out. But compare it and contrast with what we're doing.
If you went through the most incredible metamorphosis and somehow transformed yourself into the best person you're capable of being, and you and Lisa G, after that metamorphosis took place, were on the top floor of a burning building, and it's just you two, and God told Lisa, I will give you the ability to fly if you kiss John the Stutterer, she would say no.
I know.
Well,